Let's bring up the Super Bowl MVP odds. I mean, listen, we have talked about this game from every single side and prop angle. We're going to continue to do that as we approach Sunday. We got a special show Sunday for you, by the way, before the Super Bowl on this channel. With all of that said, Larry, I'm going to start with you here. Super Bowl 58 MVP odds. We understand how it works in the Super Bowl and in the MVP market. The nod usually goes to the quarterback. So if you're listening to the podcast, let me just tell you, if you're not looking at this on YouTube, Patrick Mahomes is plus 135. Brock Purdy is plus 230. A slight drop off to CMC at plus 450, and then a bigger one to Travis Kelce, Deebo Samuel, Pacheco, and so on. Maestro, any value here? What are you looking to take?
I think maybe we get a career achievement award and Travis Kelce becomes the first tight end to ever get Super Bowl MVP. You know, the time off, he looks like a different player. He's fresh. He's rejuvenated. We know he scored 13 touchdowns in his last 12 playoff games. He basically gets 95 plus yards in every postseason game. And he has a 30% target share this postseason and against the coverages that he's going to be facing. I mean, the key question is, you know, Patrick Mahomes cannot throw for 3 touchdowns and Travis Kelce still get the MVP. Basically, he's got to catch a touchdown. He's got to get over 100 yards. We got to get the Swifties to vote on NFL.com. That's 20% of the vote is from the fans. And I was on some message boards and I saw that they're actually instructing them. How do you do it? Where do I go? How do I vote for Travis Kelce?
Okay, that's really interesting. And I got to be honest, I knew about that 20% thing, but it didn't occur to me that the Swifties would be, you know, answering to marching orders, which makes a ton of sense here to get Travis Kelce that MVP. Proppy, I go to you, and it's so interesting. When I look at Travis Kelce, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because we know the condensed target share. Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, they're basically getting all the targets for good reason. But it's hard for me to look away from Patrick Mahomes, which is why I kind of suggested earlier in the week Patrick Mahomes as the MVP instead of taking Kansas City money line, because I just think that's where it's going. With all of that context, maybe you're on the Niners side. Which of these MVP candidates do you like?
Yeah, looking at the board here, I think Mahomes obviously makes a tremendous amount of sense. Brock Purdy, obviously, if you're backing San Francisco, I do think this board is really efficient here when we're looking at these numbers. Not a lot of value to be had, at least as far as the first couple of selections are concerned. I do think there is some narrative support if we're looking at Travis Kelce, but I'm looking elsewhere. I'm looking for a lot more of a long shot. I like your guy. See, I really like Deebo Samuel in this spot, around 25-1 odds. I just think Deebo's ability to impact the game as both a rusher and a receiver. He's such a versatile weapon. He obviously really seems to excel in these high leverage spots. And this is when you really unleash Deebo. You know, obviously Deebo having durability issues throughout this season, not really being able to stay on the field, but we're getting a glimpse during the postseason of what Deebo looks like when San Francisco, you know, really takes the reins off of him and lets him be himself. So I like Deebo to get a lot of work in this game. I think he has a big impact. I think if he's able to hypothetically have a touchdown, obviously San Francisco needs to win the football game, but if Deebo were to have a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown, he would really have a great shot. I do think he'll be the focal point of the game plan for San Francisco, and if they win, he's obviously going to have a lot to do with it. So Deebo would be the best value on the board as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Ryan, part of the reason that Proppy says Deebo is my guy. First of all, I do love Deebo. I do think San Francisco ends up winning this game. But one of the first bets I put out on this show on the early edge was Deebo Samuel most receiving yards in the game at plus 450 at BetMGM, your spot. And I just like that number because we know what Deebo can do after the catch. He is the yak monster. And in the short area where he's likely to be targeted early and often, I think he can break one for 60 or 70. And if that happens, he might be your guy at plus 450. With all of that said, listen, you might be on the other side of the ball. Maybe you want to be a little bit more conservative, which makes a ton of sense. Maybe you don't want to go to 25-1. Where are you at on this MVP board?
Yeah, so I don't want to come on here and steal Alex's thunder. I really do like the Deebo pick. I completely agree with you guys, because of what he could do after the catch. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is just how good Kansas City's secondary has been all season. So I'm with you. I played some San Francisco futures before the season. We've been talking about this a lot on the show. Like, do I hedge? Do I middle with a little Kansas City? I really like the Niners in this game, guys. Like, I liked Baltimore last week against Kansas City. I hate betting against Patrick Mahomes. I hate betting against Andy Reid, but I really hate betting against Steve Spagnuolo. But we know what they're going to do in this game. They're going to blitz a ton. That's what the Chiefs do. They blitz a I believe at the 7th highest rate this season, but they struggle a little bit against the run. And that's why I liked the Ravens. I thought the Ravens were going to go heavy, use 2 tight end formations with Mark Andrews back. And instead we only had 6 running back carries. I don't think that's going to be the case in this game, guys. I hate to come on here, give out a chalky pick, but I kind of like McCaffrey. We're still getting 4-1 odds plus 450 over at BetMGM. I think that's a pretty solid price, especially with what San Francisco likes to do. If you run off tackle against Kansas City, they're giving up about 5.9 yards per carry off tackle. That's why it made no sense. Baltimore didn't even try to establish the run. I think San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan, that's what he likes to do. I think that's what they do here. I like McCaffrey also just because of what he could do in the receiving game. He could have 8 to 10 receptions in this game. I see his rushing prop still sitting there at 90.5 over at BetMGM minus 115. I think he eclipses this, and I think he might be the MVP of this game. So I like Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, Ryan. I mean, listen, that's not really that chalky. The chalky play would be to go with the quarterback plus 450. You're talking about the same odds with my Deebo Samuel play. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think he's just going to get a ton of work.